Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. And I am doing a travel vlog. It has been a long time since I've done a travel vlog. I always consider it every time I go traveling. We'll see if I actually post this. So I am in Amsterdam. I just got finished from a break from school, or I guess now I'm on break from school. And I am going to be in Amsterdam for a couple days and then London for another couple days. Figured it was time for a Europe trip, and I have friends in both Amsterdam and London, so I'm gonna visit them. We actually got in yesterday, which was King's Day, which is a huge holiday in Amsterdam, and people were just like partying on the streets all day, so we didn't do very much. We basically just got to our hotel, relaxed, got dinner, and went to bed, and then we slept in until like 10:45 today, which was not the goal, but you know, that's how it is. And now we are all ready to go at noon, just off to get breakfast now. So today the plan is get breakfast, you know, get some caffeine because I'm still pretty tired. Then we're trying to go on a boat tour. We had one at 10:30 this morning, but they told us yesterday that it was like gonna be delayed, and they never told us when it was going to be, so we're gonna figure that out. And I think we're gonna go to, I don't know, some museums, hopefully get some stroop waffles because I really want to do that. And then I am meeting up with my friend for dinner tonight. And here's the end. And here is the fit for today. I got these little pants from Abercrombie. I love how like flowy they are, they're very fun. And the shirt, I don't know, I think it's from H&M or something, but it's actually very cold. Unfortunately, I planned for the weather that I wanted, which was like 60s, and then all of a sudden we got here and it was like high of like 50. And in Vegas right now, where I live, it's like 80. So we're bummed about the cold. So it's 6 o'clock and we got back from like a semi-long day of doing stuff. Kind of bummed we didn't wake up earlier, but just wanted to walk through some things that we did today. So we had breakfast at the Breakfast Club. We wanted to go to this place called Benji, but they needed reservations, so we're going tomorrow. A lot of the restaurants are confusing because like you walk in and like people just kind of like stare at you and they don't say anything. So I'm like, okay, do I like seat myself? Like, do I, you know, do you want to seat me? And usually they'll like kind of like point you in a direction, or like this morning we walked into the Benji place and they were like, they just stared at us and there were open seats. So I was like, okay, should I like go sit at one? But then we asked them, they're like, oh no, you need a reservation. I'm like, someone could just like tell me what's going on. It's very confusing. But then just down the street was the Breakfast Club, and that was really good. I had like a little avocado toast. It was pretty big. I felt like the portion sizes were pretty large. Then we kind of made our way over to where our boat tour was going to be, and that was like a really cute, fun area. There was like some little like plazas, lots of little canals, and lots of shopping as well. We just got Ian a jacket because it's a little colder than we wanted today, but actually like for the most part, I actually just put on a light jacket, and sometimes I was even like hot because it was sunny today, which is like amazing. I love warm weather, so I wasn't excited about like the cold, but luckily today was warmer than I thought for it only being like 55 degrees. So we did our tour on FLAGSHIP Tours, which was right by the Anne Frank house. Another note, for anyone thinking about going to the Anne Frank house, you need to book your tickets like now. Like if your trip is in a month, book your tickets now, because we tried to get tickets to the Anne Frank house like 2 weeks ago and they were already completely booked. And like, unfortunately, I didn't really have a lot of time to plan my trip during the semester because of boards and finals. So yeah, definitely Anne Frank house at least like 3 weeks in advance. You gotta book your tickets. So we are not going to the Anne Frank house. We might go to like the Jewish Historic Museum instead. But anyways, our boat tour was right by the Anne Frank house, and it was FLAGSHIP Tours. They were like #1 on TripAdvisor or something. And like, we liked them. I liked the boat itself. There's like little pillows to sit on and stuff. And it was cool. Like everyone like said where they're from on the boat, and everyone was like from a different country, which I wasn't expecting. I don't know why I thought there would be more American people, but we were like one of the only American peoples. And I felt like our boat tour, like it took them like 10 minutes to actually start talking about what we were seeing. They like, we're just trying to like get everyone to like order drinks, and we like don't really drink. So we were like, okay, like we don't really need that. And yeah, like the only thing I learned was that the houses like are kind of tipped forward so that when they like roll their, I don't know, they get their boats out, that it doesn't hit the house and stuff. That's literally, like, I feel like the only thing I learned. We saw some other cool architecture, which was fun, but compared to like, we were in Chicago a couple of months ago, like in the fall, and we did a boat tour there, and our like guide who was talking was like literally incredible. Like I learned so much, and I just wish that we had like learned a little more. So I don't really think I'd recommend the flagship tours. It's kind of fun if you just kind of want to sit there and like look at everything, and it's not a covered boat, so you really want to go on a day that's like nice and not raining. But I think I would go somewhere else, or like to a different boat tour. Then we went to WINKEL 43, which I got a couple recommendations. Like they're supposed to have like one of the best like apple tarts. So we went there, and that was another one of those restaurants where you walk in and like everyone stares at you and no one tells you where to go. So we were like, could we like sit down? He's like, yeah, just sit at the bar. So we sat at the bar. I thought it was gonna be more like a bakery. So I definitely still need to go like to like an actual bakery because I love baked goods. I didn't get my stroopwafel today either. But yeah, it was definitely more of like a bar pub that also serves apple pie, and the apple pie was like pretty good. It was like, I mean, it was fine. It had a lot of whipped cream on it. I'm not sure it's like the best apple pie I've ever had. Everyone says, like, I don't know, I feel like people really exaggerate on Google. They're like, oh, this is the best apple pie in all of Amsterdam. We didn't like love it. And now I'm waiting to get dinner with my friend. We are going to Wagyu Yakiniku. Yeah, I think it's like I don't really know what it is, but she chose it and she lives here, so hopefully that's good. All right, so it's Friday and it's 9:13 p.m. It's my first time vlogging today. Today did not go quite as planned. Again, I woke up just like not feeling 100%. Again, didn't sleep very well, so we pushed our breakfast back to like 10:30. And then we literally came back after breakfast, took a 2-hour nap, and then we went to KEUKENHOF. I think the tulips are only around until like mid-May, so we came at like the perfect time, but I've always wanted to see the beautiful like spring gardens, and honestly, it was like the best gardens I've ever been to. We walked around for 2 hours, and I don't even think I saw everything. Like every time we turned, it was like something new. But yeah, we basically took a little tram to the RII, and then they have like buses that go to KEUKENHOF, so it was pretty easy. It was just like a 30 to 40 minute bus ride, and then we went there. We probably should have done like a little more like of a tour, you know, learning about the tulips and everything. We just mostly did looking, but sometimes it's just nice to do that. And then we went to Pizzeria Dope tonight with my friend again. And yeah, tomorrow is our last like full official day in Amsterdam, so we really need to like get a lot done tomorrow. I'm just praying that I can like sleep well tonight. I'm about to go like take a bath because this hotel room has like a giant bathtub that actually fits me, just because like most US sized bathtubs, I just am hanging out of them because I'm a tall person. So I'm gonna take a bath, go to bed early, and then hopefully get some sleep so we can have a big day tomorrow. We still have not been to the RIJKSMUSEUM, which is like the big museum here. Need to go to that, and we have a couple other plans too. All right, ignore the fact that I am in London now because I didn't get to check in yesterday. We were out literally from like 9 a.m. to like 10 p.m. and then we went straight to bed. Well, we had to pack, and then now I'm here in London. Anyways, wanted to go over what I did yesterday, day 3 in Amsterdam. So first we started out with brunch at this like super cute little place. It was like kind of like within a garden, and it was just very cute. Definitely liked the brunch. Then we went to CUYPMARKT, I think is how you say it, and that's like what I think the biggest street market in Amsterdam. It was this big long road with like little vendors, kind of like a little farmer's market. Like there was produce and stuff. There was clothes, like, you know, little souvenirs, stuff like that. My friend says that they actually go there sometimes to like just do their regular shopping because they have, you know, good fruit and vegetables and all that. And I got my stroopwafel, which was so good. You have to get a fresh one. I just got the plain one. They also have like, they also like cover them in Nutella and stuff, but I just wanted to try the plain one. And I'm bummed I didn't get more while I was there because the ones that aren't like fresh and warm aren't the same. They like make the waffle and then they actually like cut it in half. I thought it was 2 waffles like put together with like syrup in the middle, but it's actually like they slice it in half very thinly. And then they put this like caramel syrup in between. So good. I just went to a random stand, but they all kind of looked the same and I bet they're all like pretty equally good. Then we tried to go to the Rijksmuseum, but little pro tip again, buy your museum tickets ahead of time too. No one said this online. No one said you had to buy your tickets in advance. And we go to the museums and they're all like sold out. So the Van Gogh Museum was sold out for like the next 3 days. And the Rijksmuseum, luckily we went to the little outside booth and they still had some tickets left for the day, but we had to wait like 2 hours until our entry time. So we got our tickets. We just kind of explored the building outside, which was like really pretty. They even have some tulip gardens around the museum. So we just kind of went, like did a little shopping. In the meantime, I got some gifts for people back at home. We also got some boba at this place called CHUN, which was really good. Definitely recommend. And I think we were on like the 9 streets at that point. There's like, that's like a famous area. It's called like the 9 Straats or something. And then after about 2 hours, we went back to the Rijksmuseum and the famous Van Gogh painting was not there. Like we asked the like guide people and they're like, oh yeah, like it's in like, they moved it somewhere else for like a short period of time. And I was like, seriously? They like advertise it on all their maps and everything. There's a lot of Rembrandt there and just like some cool stuff. Honestly, like I don't really care about like all like the famous painters, but it's just nice to see all like the old art and everything. And it was a huge museum. It was like 4 floors. And they even had like an Asian exhibit like on like the basement floor that we went to with like some cool stuff. So I definitely recommend the Rijksmuseum if you're looking to go to a museum. I would have also wanted to go to the Van Gogh Museum, but honestly like 2 museums in one day would have been a lot. And then we went to dinner at this Indonesian place. Indonesian food is really big in Amsterdam because the Dutch like colonized Indonesia. So my friends like took us there because they like live there and they like know all about this stuff. So it was actually really good and like pretty affordable too. Like, we had a ton of food and it was for like 30 euros a person. I know that like could sound like a lot, but it was a ton of food. We definitely could not finish it all. And yeah, we ate dinner for like 3 hours because they're very leisurely there, but we were having a good time just like chatting and stuff. And then I went back and packed and that was all of Amsterdam. I wanted to do like a little bit more. I definitely felt like we didn't completely optimize our trip, but like jet lag just really sucks sometimes and there's like nothing you can do about it. So I'm hoping we get to do a little more in London because London is way bigger than Amsterdam. Like Amsterdam, everything was like 20 minutes away, so it was really nice. Like nothing took more than 20 minutes to get to by tram or walking. Okay, anyways, now some Amsterdam like tips or things we did that made travel easier and stuff. So in terms of transportation to Amsterdam from the airport, they do have like Ubers and taxis that can actually get around like decently easily. And it was only a 15-minute drive from the airport to our hotel. And we took an Uber this morning because it was like 6 a.m. I was like, I'm not doing trams and like all that stuff. It was just like gonna be too much. And I think the Uber was like 25 euros, which really wasn't that bad. So definitely an option if you know, are avoiding doing like a bunch of tram and like train changes and stuff. But other than that, transport around the city, we didn't bike because the bikers there are like crazy. Like they just like, it honestly would be a lot for a new biker or someone new to the city to be biking around there. So we did mostly just public transportation. I recommend like getting like a 1 or couple day pass so you can just like hop on and off as many times as you want. We did not do the iAmsterdam card because we ended up saving money not doing that because it was like $50 a day per person. And the 1 day passes for metro, tram, and train maybe? Bus? No, metro, tram, bus. The 1-day pass for that I think was like €7 a person, so it was super cheap, so I definitely would recommend doing that. Super easy to buy. You can buy them like on the trams if they don't have kiosks at the tram stations, or you can buy them like at any metro station, and that was super easy, and it's like really easy to get around doing that. And in terms of like masks and everything, we basically nowhere required you to wear a mask except for in the airport. It said masks were required, only like half the people were wearing them. We were wearing ours, and you didn't need to do any COVID testing in Amsterdam. You need a test to get back to the US, but the COVID tests in Amsterdam are so cheap. We bought a couple and just like took them, you know, just to make sure we were, you know, negative and everything. But now it is time for me to get ready because we are doing high tea in London at 2 o'clock, and it is 1:10 and I am not ready. Okay, a little tea fit check. So I have this little sweater ribbed dress from Amazon, and these are my Dolce Vita boots that I stretched out with my shoe stretcher, and they're actually pretty comfortable. Like, no one really wears like heels and stuff here because there's so much walking, but so we just got back from tea at the Mandarin Oriental. We looked at a bunch of tea places and they're all like kind of pricey, so that they were all kind of between like 50 to like 75 pounds. But I will say, we just went to the one at the Mandarin Oriental, which was like I don't know, 60-ish pounds a person. And there was so much included. Like, as soon as you just sign up like for like their email list, they gave us like this like matcha ceremony, like completely included. You could also get like an extra matcha latte completely included. They were like, we did like the Japanese matcha ceremony. They were like, oh, we can do the Chinese matcha ceremony too, to like compare them. And I think you can even get like alcohol, like champagne and everything included as well, because like all the add-ons are free. And they bring you like one sandwich a person, like one type of sandwich. There are like 5 different little sandwiches, and you can get like as many sandwiches as you want. They were like, oh, do you want any like refill sandwiches? And we were like, we didn't know if it like costed more or not. They were like, oh no, it's included. So you can get as many sandwiches as you want, and then you can get like as many scones as you want. You can get different types of tea. Like, I've also been to a high tea at the Waldorf in Vegas, and you can only get one type of tea. You can't like switch your teas. This one you can get as many different kinds of teas as you want. For being a lot of money, like, you can get like a lot out of it, and it was like kind of impressive, and like the service was really nice, and it was just a really fun like way to like, you know, get introduced to London. And then we walked around Hyde Park because like our hotel's like right there, which is nice. And then now I'm just gonna like get ready for bed. I know it's early, it's like 5, but I just want to like plan for the next couple days because we don't have a lot of plans yet. We have like restaurants and everything booked and a show, but yeah. Good morning, guys. It's Monday the 2nd, and today we have a whole thing planned finally. We just had breakfast. The hotel has breakfast included, which was nice because you just like stop by, eat some breakfast. And now we're getting ready to go, or we are ready. Little fit check. This jacket, everyone always asks me where it's from, but it's from Nordstrom Rack, and like things like cycle out of there very quickly, so it's probably not available anymore. And then little tank and jeans are Abercrombie, and I've been wearing my Nike Air Force Ones this entire trip. They've honestly been great. So first we are stopping by Westminster Abbey, and we have a reservation there at like 11, so we gotta get going, and then we'll see where else we go today. Hopefully we also go to the British Museum, Trafalgar Square, and there's a donut place I really want to go to. So I know what you're thinking, Kathryn, this does not look like a hotel room in London. So I ended up just losing my voice too much and being too busy to like do the actual vlogs while in London. So now I am home, and we're going to recap the trip from here because, you know, I was getting all of the clips out and about anyway, so I still got those. So the first real day in London, aka Monday, first thing we did was we did like a little sightseeing that day. So we went to see Westminster Abbey, which is this beautiful church. There are quite a few churches in London, but I honestly just recommend you take your pick and which one you want to go see, because they all kind of look the same at some point. The Gothic architecture, they're beautiful, but like, you know, how many churches can you really see? So we did book our tickets online in advance, and you also choose a time slot that you are going to go in. It's not a tour or anything. They did have self-guided audio tours, so we did end up doing that. And you know, honestly, it was a little bit slow, so I skipped through some things. I'm more of like a looker, you know, than a listener sometimes. So we did Westminster Abbey. It was beautiful. I honestly do recommend it. And then right near Westminster Abbey, actually as soon as you get off of the metro stop, is Big Ben. And Big Ben was not under construction while I was there. It's been under construction for a long time. So if you kind of go up the street a little bit across the bridge, there's a really good like photo spot. That's where I got my photos of Big Ben. You can also see the London Eye from there. We didn't end up doing the London Eye. A lot of people said it was overrated. I would have maybe wanted to do it, but I don't know, it moves so slowly. Like, how much time am I really up there? Then I met up with my friend. We ended up doing some walking around. We ran into like this little garden that was pretty. It had some tulips. It seems to be the trip of tulips for me. And then we went to Chinatown for a quick little lunch. We weren't starving, but I wanted something because I knew dinner was going to be a ways away. So we went to this chicken shop. Apparently it got famous on TikTok or something, but Ian and I shared like a little popcorn chicken. My friend got like the cheesy volcano chicken. I don't know, it was pretty good. And then we stopped by this donut place. We went twice while I was in London. A bunch of you guys recommended it for me. It's Crosstown Donuts, but that like blueberry donut was amazing. And the specific one we went to, they were playing like a Taylor Swift only playlist the entire time I was there. It was like it was meant to be at this donut shop. Then we kind of walked around the Piccadilly Circus area. I thought Piccadilly Circus was going to be something different. It was really just like some shops, but it was kind of like, you know, poppin', but there wasn't like, unless you're going shopping, I didn't feel like there's like a ton to do there. Then as the other like main event of the day, we went to the National Gallery, and that has a bunch of famous artwork. It's like huge, like multiple stories. And another good thing about that one, I don't know if we even booked times in advance. I know that you can book a time slot online in advance, but it was free to enter the National Gallery. I believe that all museums in London are free, but like Westminster Abbey and like other sightseeing things like that do cost, usually around like 20-ish euros a person. And then we did a quick dinner at this fish and chips place. We didn't have any dinner plans that night, so we figured we'd do something casual. I feel like there's not that many like classic English foods other than like fish and chips, so we decided to go for the fish and chips. They were actually really good, but we were in a huge rush to eat these, and my mouth was burned for a couple days. Should have known, but we had like 15 minutes before our next activity to just like shove those down. But it honestly was really good. I do recommend the place. And then we went on a Jack the Ripper tour. So Jack the Ripper is like a famous serial killer from like, I don't know, maybe the Victorian era or something. I forget already. I did learn some things, but in terms of like the eras and stuff for history, it's not my thing. And I did like the Jack the Ripper tour, but it started at 7:30, and after a full day of walking around all day, I didn't really want to go on another walking tour where I was like on my feet and tired. So it was kind of exhausting, and like unless you're super into it, I'm not sure I would totally recommend it. I didn't film on the Jack the Ripper tour because we weren't like allowed to film while he was talking, but like it was cheap. It was a fun little activity. I just honestly probably would have preferred to watch like a little Jack the Ripper documentary than the actual tour, although it was cool to see, you know, where everything happened. Then the next day we woke up, just had breakfast in the hotel again, and we went to the Tower of London. This is another one you do have to buy tickets for. So we did buy the tickets, just bought them there. It wasn't like super busy. This was, you know, in the middle of the week though. And that was really cool. Lots of history in there. And then you can also see the Queen's jewels and everything. They have like a whole section. You weren't supposed to film in there, so I didn't, but a whole section of all the jewels and like some of the history behind them. And like they were playing some videos of like the coronations and all that. Then right next to the Tower of London is Tower Bridge, which if you see that beautiful like bridge with the blue accents in London, that's not the London Bridge, it's Tower Bridge. So I feel like everyone says like, oh, London Bridge and it's super pretty. It's actually Tower Bridge. And I've definitely made that mistake before. But that was another good photo opportunity. We got some photos on the bridge and photos like near the Tower of London that you could see the bridge. Then we took the tube over to Borough Market for lunch. There were quite a few food vendor options, but I would say I felt like a lot of it was like, I don't know, little markets of like cheese and meats and stuff that you would like bring home to then like cook with or something, or like buy as a gift. So there weren't a lot of like, I feel like ready-made food options, and it just got a little overwhelming. So we ended up just getting this little like curry situation, which was really good. It was right next to the paella that like everyone was going crazy for. The line was super long, but it actually went pretty quick. Then we went over to the British Museum, another free one. I think we just walked right in again, and this had like the Rosetta Stone, the famous like Egyptian cat, which like obviously like that's why I went, and then some mummies. I feel like part of the mummy exhibit was closed down, and there was also supposed to be like a Japanese like samurai exhibit that I really wanted to see as well, but the whole floor was closed down. And they were like advertising this. I hate when they do this. They were like advertising the samurais, you know, and everything. And then we tried to go up the elevator like with a couple other people that were also trying to see the samurai exhibit, and then you get off the floor and it's like completely closed. You just had to go back down. So that was kind of a bummer. Then for dinner, we went to Gloria. This was a place recommended by my friend. She said it's like super hard to get reservations, so we definitely had to book that quite a bit in advance. But it was definitely like a very cozy, like Instagram type place. Like it was a very cute little vibe in there. And the food was pretty good too. It was just kind of like Italian. I honestly didn't love my pasta. It felt like it was a little soupy, and like I'm not a big sauce person, so it was like a little off-putting, but the dessert was very fun. Then next day we went to Farm Girl for brunch. I think Farm Girl has multiple locations throughout London, and it was just a nice little like light breakfast. They had fun little, I think it had like a rose matcha latte as well, so that was really good. Then we walked through Green Park on our way to Buckingham Palace. So if you want to see the changing of the guards, you can go to the website and see the times that the changing of the guards is going to be. It's not every day. And when I looked on Monday, it said it was going to be Wednesday at 11 a.m., the changing of the guards. So I was like, okay, we'll go Wednesday at 11 a.m. I look on Tuesday night and suddenly it says that it was Tuesday at 11 a.m. and then Thursday at 11 a.m. and we were leaving Thursday morning. So I was like, oh my gosh, you know, we missed the changing of the guards. This is so lame, because if you don't see the changing of the guards, I feel like Buckingham Palace, like you can't even go inside. At least like I wasn't able to. So anyways, we take our time with brunch and we get there at like 11:20, and the changing of the guards was fully going on. And I was like, are you serious? Like it literally said on the website, this wasn't happening today. We could have totally been there at 11. So I was just a little annoyed, but we did get to see some of the changing of the guards. It was really fun. They also look like I don't know if like this is like normal or like if that's like a thing, but the guards were like so young. These were like little boys. And I'm like, are they holding real rifles as like these little children? Either way, it was really cool, and it was like very choreographed, really fun. And we also got to see like some of the guards on horses and everything, but it was definitely like a little crowded as well. You couldn't really like move very far, and people are also like glued up to the bars and like will not move. So you kind of have trouble seeing a little bit. Definitely do your research on when changing of the guards is. Then we still wanted to do like some kind of activity that would give us a good view of London. And we heard that St. Paul's Cathedral, like at the top of the cathedral, you have a really good like bird's eye view of the city, kind of an alternative to the London Eye or the Shard, which were like the other two options. So we went to St. Paul's Cathedral, again, just like a church, you know, on the inside, so nothing too crazy. But the only thing about this is that you do have to climb the stairs all the way up to the top. And I knew that going in, but it was still like a lot of stairs. So I think it was like 500 stairs or something, which in my head when I was like, oh, 500 stairs, it doesn't sound that bad. It was a lot of stairs. I will say you spend most of the time walking up the stairs, and like you can't really see anything when you're walking up the actual stairs. It still was like 20 to 25 pounds per person, and you have to do all the work of going up the stairs, and you can't see anything while you're climbing the stairs. You only get it at the top. So I feel like for sightseeing, the London Eye might have been a better choice, because you can actually like, you know, just enjoy the scenery as you go up and down. And I don't know, it's probably also around 30-ish pounds. I'm not really sure. But if you kind of wanted to see a church and, I don't know, get some climbing in, my legs were shaking so much after that, you still had a pretty good view. Then for dinner, we went to Lucky Cat by Gordon Ramsay. I love Gordon Ramsay, one of my favorite chefs. I love watching him on MasterChef. I love eating his food. He has a lot of restaurants here in Las Vegas, so I'm very familiar with Gordon Ramsay, and he just never disappoints. So we went to Lucky Cat. It was definitely like kind of like a hip casual place. Some of his places are like very like high end. This one felt like, I don't know, hip casual. But all the food was like small plates shared style, which is my favorite way to do it because I don't know, what am I gonna do with like a chicken breast entree, you know? It's just like not my thing. I like to like get a little taste of everything. So we did that, it was super fun. And then I got this little dessert too. It was like this like a rhubarb something parfait, it had a little cat on the top. And then as our very last activity, we went to go see Six the Musical. I actually heard about Six the Musical on the podcast I listened to, The Daily by the New York Times. They had like this whole episode on it. And honestly, I really liked the musical because it was our last thing of the night. We had to wake up at literally 3 a.m. the next day. And the musical was only like an hour and 30 minutes. So there was no intermission. The theater was pretty small, but we could still see. But yeah, it was just nice not to like have like a super long play, not like an hour and a half, then an intermission, and then another hour and a half. And it was just fun and engaging the whole time. And the women who were in this show had the most incredible voices. Like it was like they were just so talented. I think that was honestly my favorite part. So I was so impressed by their singing. And then we were done. Just some other little tips about London. For getting around the city, I was a little nervous because we had just been in Amsterdam, which was very small. London is a lot bigger. But honestly, navigating everything in the tube, which is like their metro system, was so easy. And my favorite part was you never had to buy a metro ticket. You literally just Apple Pay. You get your credit card ready, you like double tap the side, you Apple Pay, scan it, it opens the door, you go in, and then you tap the same card for Apple Pay when you get off the tube. And then later that night, I think at like 1 a.m. they charge you for it, and I think I maybe spent like $7 like a day, maybe even less, like depending on how often we were using the tube. But it was so easy just not to have to buy a metro card or anything. You just Apple Pay, and I just felt like it went very smoothly. That was like very advanced. I was very impressed. I had done a lot of public transportation in Europe in the past, and that was by far the easiest. We also stayed pretty central in London. We stayed at Hyde Park, and in terms of where to stay, I have traveled with larger groups of friends in Europe before, and we stayed in Airbnbs at the time. Airbnbs have gotten a lot more expensive though, and just like with the cleaning fees and everything, they honestly like don't always turn out to be a great deal, and you don't get the benefits of like early check-in, late checkout, holding your bags and stuff. And I've stayed in plenty of Airbnbs in Europe that just like didn't turn out as planned. Like one time the shower was literally like 2 feet away from the bed, and I had another one that was supposed to be like her own separate apartment, and the like owners just like walked in at one point. I was literally like in bed waking up in the morning, and like they just like walked in and they were like, oh sorry. And I don't know. So we did stay in hotels. We were not traveling at like a super peak tourist season, so it wasn't like that bad. And also, since it's just 2 people in one hotel room, I feel like hotels are definitely better if you're just like with one other person or by yourself. But I feel like Airbnbs tend to be a little better for larger groups. But honestly, Ian just really likes hotels. He likes getting hotel points. And you know, then you can get free stays later on, which you don't get the benefit of with Airbnb. Okay guys, that's it for the vlog. I know this is like kind of a weird format, so I hope you like it, and I hope that I actually get around to editing this, because I hate editing vlogs. That's why I never post them. I have some filmed that I just don't post. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!